Welcome to the Be Ruthless Show, where we have the conversations that other people don't, the conversations that other people won't. I'm your host, Sam Ruth, and I'm ready to make a lot of noise and disrupt things ruthlessly. Thanks for being here today. Now let's get to it. Welcome back to the Be Ruthless Show. I'm your host, Sam Ruth. Happy May. Happy Mental Health Awareness Month. I will start by saying I've been up since 3 a.m. Sassy has started this new thing where when I come back from anywhere, like a trip, she has something, like an ailment. So we had thank goodness, we had a regularly scheduled appointment at the vet yesterday. I don't know what day it is. I got home Monday. We had an appointment yesterday. And I've been up since 3 a.m. comforting. Don't we just wish that puppies and babies could talk? I can mostly know when she's okay, what she wants, but that's not enough in these situations. So I will start by telling you that. I started with that to let you know that it is also Better Sleep Month. That's why this is relevant. What are we good for without sleep? Wouldn't that be good to know if people had a certain color, like a battery, like we could glow and you knew what level of functioning people were at? I would be kinder to people who had less energy, less battery power, because I know today I have less battery power. And I wish the world could see that and be like, oh, fragile. Do not give difficult tasks. It is also so many things. It is National Anxiety Month. That's relevant for me, right? People in my world need to know these things. Today's the first, if you're listening live, National Infertility Survival Day. How about this one? People in your world, I guarantee you, someone in your world in some way, in some direction, family member's friend or loved one, someone connected to you is dealing with this. You might not know it. It's not dinner conversation, but why not? Is it uncomfortable? Do things that are uncomfortable have to be off limits forever? Not in my world. I refuse to live this way because these things matter. People are hurting. And how do we get through them? Your discomfort might feel like the end of the world to you, but I promise you what? Their loss is a bigger end of the world. And the only way through it, the way we survive and heal, is by talking about it. And the people who don't allow us to, the people who make it feel like we can't in those places, those are our unsafe places. Like those are the places, not for me. I talk about gym any and everywhere, but people put on masks, people pretend, people run into bathrooms crying or call in sick or hide in their car and call me. And I bridge the gap, navigate and mediate and help have the conversations so that other people understand these things are invisible and the funeral ends and the period of time the other people expect loss or whatever, a move, getting fired, a job ending, quitting a job, choosing to leave a job, whatever loss or situation someone's going through, the rest of the world has a time frame they believe, or they watch you on the outside functioning and believe things have returned to a certain level of normalcy. That doesn't happen for the person who's living it. So these awareness days matter. And while I'm working to get them legally added and put on calendars everywhere, the Grief Hab Awareness Calendar was created with artwork designed by kids impacted by loss, by the way, so that people will be reminded, so that someone in your world today, maybe you'll pick up the phone If you are aware, maybe you'll just say thinking of you or send a heart emoji if you don't know what to say. Maybe you'll say, what would you like? What's acceptable to say? What's wrong to say? What do you need? What do you not need? Because here's the thing. Grief never ends. It's invisible. There are certain things that are universal, but our path to healing is different, each and every one of ours. What works for me might not work for someone else. I do promise you that we all need to talk about it. We all need to get through it with that happening. And most of us, like the vast majority, and I'm talking vast, vast, vast majority, want to talk about our lost loved ones and keep them with us and be able to do that and hear you share your favorite stories and your memories and have you ask about ours and know that that's just going to continue, that is. And you doing that and allowing us to do that is our happiness. That's what we have. That's our pieces of them that we keep in the here and now, because physically they are not in the here and now, right? So that is the calendar, why it exists. Hundreds of these awareness days that are invisible. Hot Dog Day exists. It gets to be on calendars. Why? Why is that on calendars, but these days are not? So I'm bringing this up. Yes, it's May, and yes, Mental Health Awareness Month. I'll bring up more because that's, part of what I do all the time. But all of these days matter, and I want them all to be on people's radars so that you can reach out to the people in your worlds and maybe, like I said, do something that you wouldn't have thought of otherwise, and that we can provide more support than we would have because it wouldn't be on our minds. And people like me can have more events and do more things and bring up more conversations. And by the way, I said the vast majority, the minority, those who struggle or don't want to have the conversations will. That's a part of their grief process, that they're in a pain, a level of grief that it's too difficult right now, but they will get there. We all are walking down that path at our own pace. So I am bringing this up because we're doing a 2025 calendar. We'll be doing a 2026. And even when these days are on all calendars everywhere, they won't be like this one with artwork designed by kids. And you can be a part of that while this isn't everywhere. You can be on the forefront. Maybe you would like to have your logo next year on May during Mental Health Awareness Month. Maybe you want to offer a promotion at your business. Maybe you have a product that you can ship anywhere because the calendars can be anywhere. Maybe you think bigger. Maybe you want to be on the cover. We can do so many things, but if you care about changing the way the world views mental illness and grief and just supporting these types of causes and being on the forefront of this movement, the 2025 calendar will be available at the end of the year. But you can pre-order it at the events coming up that are all a part of Healing Together Through the Holidays, the second annual. That is also at the end of the year during National Grief Awareness Week. Between Thanksgiving and Christmas, it's kind of all ties together why all of these things are happening together. And Faces of Grief, the book, will launch that I am doing with so many authors who are sharing their stories, different types of losses, different stories of how they have found their way, what they do to get through their journeys, their paths, right? And so many ways to be parts of supporting this cheering us on, getting involved. Please reach out. If you know someone, please connect, help me make more noise. I am pretty loud, but the more people involved, the louder we are and the larger reach we have. And people are hurting everywhere, every single day. So we need to be as loud as possible in as many places as possible, and we need to reach people the moment it happens, right? I needed help the moment it happened. No one handed me a pamphlet, no one offered me a business card, no one said, do you need anything in the professional way? Thankfully, I knew who to call, I knew what to do professionally, and it still wasn't enough. So we need to be out there, the moment people need us. So if you want to be a part of that or know someone who would be, sam@samantharuth.com. Today I want to talk about relationships. I've been on this kick this week. Who lifts you up? Who does not? We have our families, we have our friends, we have our chosen families, we have people we work with. Sometimes we have people we work with that we spend more time with than the people we live with, right? And I talk all the time about boundaries, and I myself, after losing Jim especially, became so intentional about who and what I let into my world. I'll just sit, my nieces, good God, what they make me watch when I go to Michigan. Oh my God, the things we do. So what types of people and what types of boundaries do we set? There are situations you might have people in your household that you love dearly that push your buttons, that you cannot set the same type of boundary as you would if you didn't live with them, right? We have to get creative. We have to think about, I live with this person, I see them all of the time, right? It's different than if I didn't have to see them. We would do things a lot differently if it was someone you didn't run into. It's much easier to do certain things and say certain things when you care less or when you have it less contact. But at the same time, there are also people who can push buttons and know how to push buttons, and maybe it's fun. My brother loves to poke at me, and quite honestly, I love to do it back, right? But that's playful. When and what do people do to bring out the best in you? And who do you surround yourself with? If you have people that drain you, how do you counter that? What do you do to lift you up? What do you do before you're around them? What do you do after, right? Like, we have water to hydrate, and I'm not saying that to be silly, but honest to God, I have been doing as much research as I can with one client about food and how to use food instead of medication. And we all know water is important, but I'm learning even more. And so that is seriously the simplest number one go-to in so many situations. But we need to think about how we let people treat us, how much time we can walk out of a room, we can walk out of a house, we can hang up a phone. I don't think my mom would ever in a million years. There are people who would think this is like, oh my God, that's the rudest thing in the world. Sam, I would never. And I just ask you, if you're listening, to think about weighing your sanity, your well-being. What are you going through? Why are you listening? When I lost Jim, I was in too much pain. Nothing else mattered but surviving. And through that, I learned that I need to put myself first to survive in order to do that and be my best self. And through that, I've learned that I will not allow certain things in my life. I am intentional about who, what, all of the things, right? And there are still people I love that are in my life that I maybe wouldn't otherwise choose. And I have to set boundaries. And still, right? It still can, if we allow it, test our moods, test our patience. And so sometimes for me, walking out a door or hanging up a phone is better than becoming a version of myself that I don't want to be. Or, you know what I mean? Going to a place that I don't want to go. I've worked really hard to be who I am, to get where I am. And other people don't get to have that power over me. And it's like a day like today, I'm exhausted. I don't know what words I would choose. I might have to walk out of a room or hang up a phone, right? We have to do what works. And I could explain it tomorrow with some people. There are some people that no matter what explanation does not matter. There are some people that don't listen. There are some people that don't care. You have to look at your relationships. You have to look at your energy level, your battery life. And I have clients that I work with, and one of them said to me, Sam, I do Weight Watchers, and it works for me. There's a point system. So we created her battery life with point systems. And her energy, she knows that she has a certain amount of energy per day. She has a certain amount of points per day. She knows how many points it takes to do something like emptying the dishwasher. She knows how many points, she assigns them, right? It takes to do something like gardening in her yard. She knows how many points it takes to do something stressful for her, that could be a phone call from someone in a family that just is exhausting. But we love our families, but it can still be one of those people who knows how to push our buttons. So we have to choose. Do we answer? Do we have plans that evening? Is that phone call more important than plans that evening? Right? We assign points. And what happens if you wake up that day and you happen to be sick? Then you have even less energy. There are different ways to evaluate. What worked for her was Weight Watchers and a point system. For me, honestly, my rate scale, I've talked about it before, is how does this make me feel? If this is like an, oh my God, like this feels good, yes, that's a yes. Like this feels good, it's a yes. And if it's like oh, ew, honestly, I'm describing the feeling to you. If you were here, you would see my face. That can be a no. It can be that simple. Today, I was talking to a friend and I was explaining that I've been up since 3 a.m. And today my life feels hard. Like my legs are dragging. They feel heavy. And she said, you are allowed to take it easy today. You are allowed. You would tell me that or anyone else. So we get to make choices in the way that works for us with relationships. And to end this on this note, while I was with my nieces, I was spending a lot of time with my 11-year-old niece, and we were just talking about people. And it was great weather the first couple of days for Michigan. And we went to the Dairy Queen outside and we were sitting there, and a guy came and sat somewhat nearby on the curb and started talking to my mom. And this bothered my niece. She did not like it. was a stranger. He was overly friendly. She had like that weird feeling. She didn't like it. Now, I just told you a few minutes ago, my mom couldn't be mean to anyone, right? My niece, I could tell, like she wanted to get the hell out of Dodge. And I forgot, they were talking about Arizona. He was from Arizona. My parents used to live in Arizona for the winter, blah, blah, blah. So my niece and I started talking about, you don't need to wait for evidence. You are allowed to walk away, right? Like this is not, are we making friends at the school playground where there are teachers present and mom's making a play date? This is life. If somebody ever gives her a feeling, like I felt like it was the hair on the back of her neck standing up type of a feeling, that is all we need. I have learned. I have tested it the other way. Maybe I'm overreacting. What if I'm just being silly? I didn't get a good night's sleep. I'm just being silly, sensitive Sam. He's probably a great guy, and I'm just being, nervous because of my anxiety. I have anxiety and I'm overreacting about everything. Wait, bad things happen. Evidence, instinct was correct. I don't need to live that way. And if I am wrong, who am I? What do I do not need to connect with this person. If I have, good feeling, this feels good, I want to make new friend, great. If not, I need no more permission than bad feeling to walk away. Neither does my 11-year-old niece, and better for her to learn it now. So with relationships, if there are people in your life, in a workplace, in a household, in a family that you do not sever ties with, you are able to still set boundaries. You can walk out a door. You can walk out of a room. You can call me and figure out how to handle a situation, draft an email, call, have a talk. So many options. But trusting your gut is important. And if people are treating you in a way that you don't like or bringing out a quality in you, that's all that matters. We get a vote. I've been saying that a lot lately. You get to be you. People don't get to tell you. Yes, you have to do tasks at work. They might be due at a certain time, by a certain day. You might even have to wear a certain uniform, outfit. But you still, get to be you and do you and live you. And if you have some sort of a radar or someone in a relationship that's bringing out a side of you or some sort of instinct, that's evidence. That's enough. You're allowed to set boundaries. And if that's difficult, people hate that word. The earlier we learn it, the easier it becomes. People respond. Some respond well. Respect it. Problem solved. People who have known you to be a certain way for a certain length of time aren't used to it and might resist for a little bit. But if you just stick to it, they will respond to your consistency. So thank you so much for bearing with me this week after returning. Travel's difficult. I talked about that. I'm sensitive. Sassy is too. And you guys are such a great part of my world and part of this community. Happy May if you're listening live. Happy so many awareness days, weeks. If you do want, the 2024 calendar is still available. Happy to give you that at a lower price. Just happy to get it out there in the world. These days matter. Thank you so much. Until next time, always be ruthless. Thanks so much for listening today. Your support means everything to me, truly. If this podcast resonates with you, please do me a favor and join in the Ruthless movement by making some noise and doing one of these 4 things. Subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Tell a friend so we can break stigmas even faster. Leave a review so people can see what you think of the show. And last, if you want to learn more about me and be a part of the Grief Hab community, please head on over to the Facebook group. We'd love to have you. Thanks again for spending your time with us, and see you next week.